Hi, I'm Jen from Pearlfisher. Today I'm going to talk to you just a little bit about us and what we do. We're an independent brand design agency, and we've got studios in London, New York, San Francisco, and Copenhagen. Most of all, we're united by our culture, our work, our clients, and by our ideas. And one of our biggest ideas is about creating a better future by design and creating simpler, lighter, and more desirable ways of living. I'm just going to play a short video. Oh, my slides have got stuck. Okay, can you move to the next slide, please? So we design for life. And for us, designing for life means understanding how people's needs and desires are changing so that we can design for the lives that we all want to lead. And by understanding how people are living their lives and expressing that through brand design, we sort of use our unique team of futurists, strategists, designers, and realisers. And we're all kind of observing, imagining and expressing change constantly and trying to make sure that everything we design fits with the kind of future wants and needs of people that are buying product. My slides are not moving. Sorry. Here we go. So I'm going to talk you through a couple of luxury case studies and then talk to you about how we might start to exist with luxury in a luxury space with brands whilst keeping sustainability in mind. So the first challenge we had was for a brand called Tohum. In an ever-changing fashion world, how can you create a timeless identity? So Verda Allerton launched Tohum 10 years ago to express her love for the simplest forms of beauty. Born of her passion for nature and culture, and inspired by her travels across continents, Tohum's a distinctly personal brand, and it comes alive in one-of-a-kind handmade pieces and striking jewellery collections that celebrate original materials, strong structures, and timeless connections. So to define Tohum's unique position in a contemporary fashion space, we created a complete experience that takes the brand forward as a natural luxury brand for everybody. At the heart of Tohum is this timeless idea of connection, so the desire to bring us closer to our origins and to each other. This is part of the brand essence. And so working in harmony with the Tohum design philosophy, we created an intuitive brand experience that connects with the elegant simplicity of Tohum and then opens up into an expressive world where the story can unfold and the bold collections can come alive. Reflecting the originality of the Tohum designs, our brand mark brings together a sense of form and fluidity. The elegant lettering, through its graceful posture and intertwining nature, evokes a feeling of continuity, whilst crafting a sense of space, air and light reflected in the choice of a natural white, charcoal and gold palette for the brand. By utilising embossing techniques and natural sustainable materials wherever possible, we reduced the need for ink on the packaging and crafted this new circle and dot symbol, which takes inspiration from ancient cultures and African art forms, carrying meaning and all the values of the brand by expressing connection, continuity, and the circular nature of life. On to our next challenge. How do you navigate the brand creation of a new premium gin? We were tasked with creating the design and positioning for a new, authentic, crafted gin with a Nordic signature, targeting the classic gin drinker looking for newly inspired ingredients and drinking experiences across Scandinavia and globally. So this is Skagerrak Nordic Dry Gin. It's a classic juniper-driven gin with a distinctive Nordic feel, containing distillates made from seaweed and botanicals that are found in the Skagerrak region. The Skagerrak Strait is in the North Sea, and it's famous in Viking history and legendary among sailors and seamen who for centuries have used the North Star and the 3 points in Norway, Denmark and Sweden to navigate to find their way to safe shores. The brand story is immersed in the often unpredictable, challenging and colour-changing waters of the Skagerrak Sea, which are sometimes a bright turquoise blue and just as suddenly deep blue and intense. So the colour becomes a key focus for the unifying equity for the design, giving us a distinctive bottle colour, which we finish with a metallic glaze. And it gives changes to the different blue hues, so it represents what's happening in the Skagerrak Sea in different lights. And it conjures a vision of the sea and the night sky in that part of the world. Also, the 3 points as part of the logo on the front represent the stars and the navigation points. So it just brings a whole kind of brand story together. The premium bottle cap is made of oak. It's with a distinctive North Star laser cut into the top, signifying provenance and craftsmanship. And a bold defining brand seal complemented by a finely textured bottle surface, similar to fine blown sand. So it's very tactile in the hand. And then the brand story on the back of the bottle with certain variants having sea motif illustrations like seaweed and sea buckthorn to bring together every element of the brand, something we hope that consumers will love as much as we do as a bottle and keep and hold on to. But then moving on, how do you introduce sustainability into a premium space? This is Tonic. It's a project developed by us in partnership with glass manufacturers OI and the Library Gyms. The question, if others are artificially fueled, what's your smart and naturally powered drink of choice? So in an unadventurous, functional and processed and sugar-loaded world of sports drinks, Zana Morris, who's a respected nutritionist, decided to open up the drinking experience and launch this new coconut water in the wellness space. So coconut waters have a double benefit, promise of nutrition and hydration, and they're really popular. They exploded onto the market in the last couple of years as a fitness and health staple. But consumers are moving way beyond that basic function and looking for more progressive and expressive wellness offers. So how do you provide naturally potent ingredients with more emotive communication of the effectiveness? And these things framed our approach with Tonic as we look to match the progressive nature of the offer, a lighter nutrient and vitamin-packed coconut water choice, with a more expressive look and feel to open up that kind of drinking experience. So the creative approach needed to break through the generic and prescriptive look and voice of the coconut water category and elevate Tonic as a premium and progressive drinking experience, an innovative sparkling coconut water with the added benefits of ginger juice, magnesium and probiotics. The name hints at both, with the perceived benefit of an old-fashioned tonic and also the super nutrient goodness of today's key magnesium ingredients. And we use the IQ on the top to just kind of cement the idea of the power to be found in this new and intelligent way of drinking coconut water. And the expression itself was through a new unique and embossed visual identity, which symbolises the lighter nature of the drink and also creates an experience with the bottle in the hand because the print is really tactile. But how do we increase the packaging sustainability? Well, we chose a recycled brown glass bottle because it naturally reflects the outer shell of a coconut and it cues a more crafted and premium feel when it's supported with our choice of a rose gold cap. Functionally, brown glass is better at protecting the integrity of the drink inside, so it has a benefit from that perspective, but it's also brilliant for sustainability as it's made from recycled content as well as being fully recyclable. But to further enhance the sustainability, we created circularity for the bottle packaging, giving gym members the option of returning it to be reused. So using the OI digital print technology to decorate the bottle allowed us to create this light feathery feel of inside of a coconut for all the textured white printed raised areas. But it also meant that the bottle could be washed for reuse. So it needs to go through a high temperature wash in order for you to be able to refill and reuse it. And it meant also that the tamper seal and the closure were the only items that needed to be renewed on the packaging. So because the expiry date was on the tamper strip at the top, you could just reuse the same packaging over and over and over. Sorry, to keep going with the slides. So looking forwards, we feel like harnessing new technologies and materials will be key for products going into circular systems like Loop or creating their own circular systems. And it will enable us to create smaller volume products, allowing local producers greater access to getting their products to market. And it gives us the flexibility to source more product more locally and distribute it in reusable circular packaging, which lowers the carbon footprint and helps us to reduce our impact on the planet. So with that in mind, I thought I'd share a few of the techniques we're using to help shape sustainability in a luxury space for current clients. So the first thing that we always look at is foil sustainability. If you need to still be in a space where you're using foil, which is obviously contentious in terms of its sustainability, it actually has no effect on recyclability. And we're working with Foil Co quite closely to get some certification to see how much foil could be used on packaging without affecting its carbon footprint and its sustainability message. But it only works if you have initiatives like Zero to Landfill, which is a scheme supported by the British Printing Industries Federation. And the idea is that it negates the requirement of landfill for foil waste product. So where your foil is distributed on a film before it's applied, that can all be recovered and reused. Or you remove foil altogether and you move into a space where you're using metallic inks. Again, you can get really good premium cues, but the first image shows litho metallic inks. They're a really good sustainable alternative, but sometimes they can look dull if you're using an uncoated substrate, for example. So maybe you might move into a gravure space where you've got this metallic FS silver. It prints as a base, and then you can print colour over the top to create these beautiful metallic effects. Or you could use a Flexo silver, for example, where there's a lot more sheen to it than a Pantone ink, so it cues that premium feel that you might be after. But there's some great innovation being made around digital ink as well, which works in a similar way to the gravure metal effects, but can actually produce some really good results, and also helps with volumes, so you can produce smaller volumes more quickly and with customization in a digital space. We also look at special finishes and embossing. So you can combine foiling, varnishing, embossing. It gives you texture and tactility, which also will create more premium cues on a product. But again, it depends on the material that you're running it on and how you're producing, which finish or emboss or tactile effect might work best. But again, you can make them quite sustainably and quite easily. The best thing about all of these techniques is that you can combine them. So you could combine digital print, as seen here, with embossing and some tactility and a digital foil, and create these beautiful kind of finishes. It doesn't have to be just one or the other, and combining the technologies really helps. They actually match now conventional printing methods, and the volume run that you would need for these is actually increasing. So they're actually starting to come into their own when you're talking large scale production. And you can further enhance it by looking to sustainable papers. So we all know that we should be using correctly sourced materials, but what if you introduce recycled content? So extract from J. Smith, for example, using the recycled coffee cups to create material that you can use as paper, or using food waste content. So this one on the right is Crush from Favini. It's made with 30% food waste, and they actually have a system where you could take your own food waste and produce paper potentially with it. They'll do testing with you and kind of see if that works for you. And then looking at how you innovate for secondary packaging as well. In the luxury market, quite a lot of product comes in a gift format, so it might come in some kind of secondary packaging. Utilising things like fiberform paper to create a really sustainable secondary pack is key, to try and get away from mixed materials or using, unsustainable process for those secondary packs. And if you're playing in a glass space, there's loads of really cool innovation in glass right now. If you're making a product that needs to be in a glass space, this is Wild Glass from Estal. It's made from 100% post-consumer recycled glass, and it has these beautiful like inclusions of bits of color where the brown and the green and the flint have kind of mixed together to create this kind of green colored glass. So it just gives you a little bit of equity that you can own as part of your brand. And there's some really cool innovation as well in biomatter. So Sulapack, this is one that I really like. It's biodegradable packaging with no harmful compounds. It's made with wood sourced from sustainably managed Nordic forests. It's got no harmful components in it. It's got a low carbon footprint, and it can be processed the same way as plastic. The only watch out I would say for materials like this is making sure that you've got a disposal stream. So it's that cradle to cradle approach again, looking to see the market that you're putting your product in. Is this something that can be disposed of easily, or is it a refill system and you're intending your consumer to hold on to it and refill it? And if so, how does that work? And then this is a great one. So this is mushroom, basically. It's called mycelium. It's a bacterial mushroom that you can introduce anything into a mold basically and grow it. So it's grown using locally sourced natural crop fibers that are no longer of use. So you can use like corn husks and hemp. You could use straw, for example, but they will look at any biomatter that you have that's left over from your production of whatever product you're creating, and you can have a form made and grow your own secondary packaging. It's actually baked once it's grown into shape to kill the bacteria inside, so it keeps its form, and it's fully compostable. So you could actually, when you finish with the packaging, put it into your garden compost and it would break down and biodegrade. So it's pretty cool as a new material. And so finally, by designing for life, we're sort of taking into account the full life cycle of what we create, working with specialists and manufacturers and scientists and whoever we can get our hands on, really, and always looking to the future to make sure that whatever we create will be sustainable and premium, in a premium space. Thank you very much. So I think I'm going to take some questions now.
Yeah, Jennifer, thank you very much. That was fantastic, and that last one that you showed really is, it's always fun, and yeah, it's just really cool when you see these papers that are made out of elephant poo or like secondary packaging that's made out of mushrooms, and it's just like, it's so out there, but it's great. It's great. It's such an excellent way to reuse those materials. So thank you very much. Thanks for taking us through it. As I sort of indicated at the beginning, I sort of fell in love with that Skagerrak bottle halfway through the year.
Yeah.
Could you talk a little bit more maybe through the process of how that came together? And I think I've never actually seen it in real life, but the pictures look incredible, and it looks so sort of at one with the natural environment that inspired it. So what was the process for putting that together?
It was really tricky, actually, because we knew that we wanted to have a sustainable bottle, and we knew that we wanted to direct print. We knew we didn't want to use a label. We wanted it to be organic and feel right and on brand. But we went through a whole process of how do we get this kind of almost petrol finish to kind of translucency and color change onto a bottle. And it was a lot of trial and error to kind of make that work properly. We wanted to use a recycled content bottle, so then it's a case of a lot of trial and error with different sprays and finishes onto that glass, so it's actually sprayed on as a
Okay.
technique. It does mean that it's a little more expensive than a standard bottle. But if you want to create something, like I can see people wanting to keep this. This is like some of the really unique old bottles that people keep them, turn them into lamps. It's just something you want to own and keep in your house. So yeah, that was the kind of thought behind it, was like, how do we make it ownable? Obviously, it's still fully recyclable. And if you moved into a space where you could refill it, it would still work as a refill model. But at the moment, it's just a one way. But it's got that kind of future proofing in terms of when that mechanism is there, we can move it into that space.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And we talked a little bit earlier. I don't know if you saw with Nicholas Appelquist from the Absolute Company about the idea that bottles, especially limited edition bottles, very beautiful bottles, they're objects that you want to keep. They're not purely delivery mechanisms for a product that then are thrown away. And I think that's very characteristic of the luxury packaging market. I think if you had to pick one big sort of sustainability innovation or approach for the luxury market, what would your number one bit of advice or your number one approach be? Your favorite way to sort of start a project?
Well, this is the thing. Every single project is different. So you can't have a one size fits all. It has to work with the brand story. If it doesn't connect with that design for life kind of idea and concept, it doesn't connect with the consumer in the right way. It has to actually be fit for purpose with the brand. So this is why the lipstick model that we saw earlier works so well, because it actually connects with the brand and the brand essence and the brand identity. So for every single job that we work on, it's a completely different story. Like, I have favorites in terms of materials. Like, I love the innovation around Sulapak and the fact that you could, like, use your waste product for, potentially if you're making a whiskey, for example, you could potentially use some of that waste product. I love the idea of being able to take waste from the production of any kind of food or spirits industry, and then using that to incorporate it into your packaging in some way. So it's promoting that kind of circularity. I also love the mushroom stuff. It's amazing, and it's actually at scale. It's fully production ready now. A year ago it wasn't, but there's some guys that have set up a full-on production facility, and they can grow it in 7 days. So
Wow.
literally, you can have your packaging in 7 days from when they've got the mold. It's so good.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. And you in the world of realization,
Yeah,
that's another way of saying, you're the person who translates ideas and pretty pictures into something that can actually be produced. Um,
absolutely.
I suppose. And I I'm very curious to know if you see, as sustainability issues get bigger and bigger, or sort of more all encompassing, are you involved in processes earlier than you might have been in the past?
Absolutely, yeah. So I get involved right at the beginning when the strategic phase of a project is kind of kicking off. And I'll be kind of inputting alongside designers' ideas. So they'll be like, "What about this?" And that will kind of trigger some kind of material innovation. And I'll be like, "Oh, have you seen this?" And we'll kind of connect up. So we work really collaboratively, and with the futures team as well. So this is what I love about what I do. We all connect as a big team, and we all have different kind of perspectives, and that mix of people and the mix of perspectives is what kind of gives us a bit of direction. I think there's a danger with a lot of brands at the moment where they're putting out so-called sustainable materials or products, but actually the carbon footprint is way higher than if they were producing in a different material. And that's something we're always mindful of. So it is actually, how good is it for the future? What is the impact of what we're creating, and is there a better way of doing it? So is that, if you're in glass, for example, don't ship it from China, get it from as local to the point that it's been bottled as possible. Try and look at the whole supply chain. So I'll go and do like factory line audits as well, just to see how those guys get on, and what their speak to the people that are actually producing stuff on the line. What are their challenges? What do they face every day? And really get under the skin of the brand. It's not just about the end product. It's about that whole process from start to finish. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, that's very interesting. And are you seeing thinking about the COVID, we're all there. Are you seeing briefs changing at all, or different sort of approaches as a result of that, in terms of in terms of what you're doing?
I think there's a little hesitancy around refillables. People are not quite sure how to do that in a safe way right now, and that's up to us to solve in terms of how do you make it safe, because we don't know how long this situation is going to go on for in reality. So it's like, let's work with it, let's see it as a challenge and overcome it. So it's not affecting things in terms of our projects really. It's just giving us another problem to throw into the mix that we need to resolve. But yeah, I think overall it's not going to have too much of an impact, and in some ways it might drive people to be more sustainable in certain avenues, because I think all of the pollution that's going to come from all the PPE is going to really raise the bar for everyone else, because we're going to have a bigger job to clean it up.
Yeah, absolutely. And sticking with sustainability in luxury, which of course is the topic of the topic we're talking about. Do you see the premium and luxury market as a test bed for what might later come into the more mass market and FMCG world, or do you consider it as a separate? Do you see it as an area with separate challenges?
It has separate challenges for sure. FMCG, you can use a lot less superior materials, let's say, but in a luxury market, it really has to be that luxury appeal. Otherwise, why would somebody, invest more in it? And that's all around the materials, the finish, the look, the feel. It's all about tactility in the hand at the moment. So it's like, how does it actually feel when you pick it up? Does it feel like something that's beautiful? Has it been, has it been crafted in a unique and loving way? And does it fit the brand story? So, it's about the whole package, really, if you'll excuse the expression, but it really is. In a luxury market, it is literally every touch point for that brand is equally important. And that goes for like how that pack's represented in a digital space as well, because online shopping is obviously on the increase. So how do you translate your digital luxury or your luxury packaging into a digital format to actually get people to engage when they're not necessarily going to encounter it face to face? So it's all of that kind of goes together to work towards the luxury space. It's difficult.
Yeah. Well, listen, it doesn't get any easier, but you're doing amazing work, Jen. and the agency is putting out just such beautiful packs. So congratulations to your colleagues, and thank you very much for sharing your time and expertise with us today. We need to leave it there, Jen, but thank you so much, and speak again soon.
Okay, thanks.